Hello everyone, welcome to day 24 of Why Aren't You Sleeping? Why aren't you sleeping at night? Why aren't you going to sleep? Why are you waking up in the middle of the night? Why aren't you getting 8 hours of sleep like you're supposed to? All of those things we're going to talk about today. And hopefully you don't have all of those bad sleep habits, but you probably have some of them. So I haven't been on here in a couple days. Sorry, I can't see myself. I haven't been on here in a couple days because God has been quiet. I don't really know why. I've been spending my time with Him and my alone time with Him and all of those things, but God has been very quiet. He hasn't been really speaking to me. So I haven't been on here in the last couple days because I haven't really had anything to talk about, because without God, if He's quiet, then I'm quiet. I kind of work simultaneously with Him. I must apologize because I'm leaving the gym and I'm red-faced, I'm sweaty, and I've been working out, all of those things. And so, but God was speaking to me. He spoke to me last night. He spoke to me my whole workout. I have a meeting here shortly with a friend of mine about one of my entrepreneurships that I'm working on. So I have a meeting with them in just a little bit. But God spoke to me so hard during my workout that I had to get on and share this message with you all. Okay, so don't make the mistake I did. I did not sleep for about, from 1990, I want to say from 1996 until about 2020. I did not sleep. I really did not sleep. Okay, and here's why. And I'm going to tell you why. And I hope that you'll be able to relate to this as well. Okay, I can't see very well, so I'm just moving this a little bit. Okay, so I did not sleep. And let me tell you why I didn't sleep. And I'm just going to tell you my story. And I hope that you can relate to it. So I did not sleep because I did not listen to that little voice inside my head. Now, I have a friend who I asked a few weeks ago, my friend that's not a believer, and I asked him, I said, well, what do you do when that little voice tells you to do something? Like they say in Cinderella, let your conscience be your guide, right? But I asked my friend, I said, what do you do when that voice tells you something? He's like, I don't hear a voice. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so what have you done to drown out that voice? Or you're just not speaking truth right now, right? Because the truth is, we all have a conscience. We are all, when we are born, we have the Holy Spirit within us that tells us what to do. We all have that. Now, if you're not getting quiet enough to hear it, then that's on you. But we all have that voice inside of us that leads us and guides us. Okay? So rewind to 1994. 1996 to 1998. It started around 1994, but I'm going to leave that part out. Okay, so in 1998, around that time period, I was getting married, and I had a little voice that was telling me not to get married, right? And of course, I was, 22, 23 years old. I can't even remember. I try to block it out of my mind. When I got married, and, I wasn't listening to what God was telling me. He was telling me not to marry this person. Not that, just the fact that we were not equally yoked is what I'm going to say. We were not people that were equally yoked. He was telling me to not marry this person. And I heard it. And I ignored it because I said, you know what? It's time for me to get married. I've graduated from college. Even though I was going back to grad school, I was in no rush, right? But a tragic accident happened with my dad. So I moved back to my small town. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, I grew up here. There's no one here. I know who lives here. and there's no one that I'm going to marry. It's going to be this person, or it's going to be no one at all. It's time for me to get married, all of those things, right? And so that's what I would drown the voice out. God would tell me not to get married, and I would just drown that voice out with other things and other ideas. Okay? And so it got to the point where it was the day before the wedding, and I had called a friend and I said, I do not want to marry this person. I don't feel like it's right. And she said, your mom has spent so much money on this wedding. Just walk down that aisle, have the day, and then divorce them later. And dumb enough, I took that advice, and that's what I did, right? And it didn't get any better. And there were some times when I thought, in my marriage, that the Lord is punishing me because I did not listen to him. But I don't think that's what it was. I think that the Lord told me, was trying to let me know what life would be like if I didn't listen. And he was never going to honor the fact that I should not be with this person. So it wasn't that he was punishing me necessarily. It was the fact I had made a bad choice, and those were the repercussions of the choice. But God was with me through it all. He never left me. There were times I would get on my hands and knees and say, Lord, I don't understand. I'm trying. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. Why is this not working? I'm trying so hard. Why is this not working? And the Lord would say, this is not the plan that I have desired for you. And I would think, what in the world? Why, how is this possible? You hate divorce. You want us to be married. You designed us to be with another person, right? And so I was confused. I was married for 22 years. We dated for about 2.5 years before we got married. And I didn't even want to go out on the first date with this person. Now, I want to say that I would not change a thing, because I had 3 of the most amazing children with this person. And I think God knew that I was going to marry this person, and God knew I was going to have my children, which is a huge blessing. And so he was there with me through it all, even though I was not listening to his advice. Okay, it's just like when your kids, you tell your kids something and they do something different. That's what I was doing. Okay, so how does this have to do with sleep? Well, when you don't listen to that little voice, you can't sleep. There's no peace. That voice that is trying to lead you and guide you and keep you away from harm, you're not going to be able to sleep if you're not listening to it. So I did not sleep, I'm telling you, for over 22 years. Okay, I could go to sleep just fine, right? But I would wake up in the middle of the night, usually at 3 o'clock. Usually at 3 a.m. I would wake up. And I would ask my preacher, why am I waking up at 3 a.m.? I would ask, people in biblical authority, why am I waking up at 3 a.m.? Well, they told me that 3 a.m. was when Jesus was resurrected, right? And that is when God gives his wisdom. God will give you wisdom at that time at 3 a.m. So it's like a sacred time. It's a blessing to be woken up at that time. Okay, and so I would just I had a notebook. I would go upstairs to a bedroom that wasn't slept in. I would wake up, and from about 3 to 4, because I woke up at 5, I would write things down that the Lord told me. I would pray. I would do all those things. And I would usually wake up because I had 3 young kids at that time. They played travel sports, which was the dumbest thing that ever. Travel sports, let me tell you, I need to do a whole separate video on that. That is like, why in the world did I pay that kind of money for travel sports? It was time consuming. It was so expensive. I felt like I was a money puppet, and the people that were running it were like, I can't believe people are really paying for us to make their lives this busy and this miserable. Okay, so anyway, so we had 2 kids in travel sports. Then I had my younger daughter, who was still like in preschool, right? So a lot of things had to happen. There were a lot of things to keep the family moving that had to happen. So I would wake up and I would come up with plan B, because my plan A would be that I'm going to pick up this kid and take this kid here, and I'm going to do this and do this. And, you know, my ex-husband was going to do these things, right? So I would have a list of things that each of us were going to do. Well, 9 times out of 10, that list that I had for my ex-husband did not happen. So I would wake up in the middle of the night and try to come up with the plan B. Okay, so if my ex-husband doesn't do this, then I'm going to do this to make sure this happens, right? So it was constant, like, worrying about what he wasn't going to do and how I was going to fix it, right? So that's mainly what I worried about. That's mainly what I woke up in the middle of the night thinking about. Okay, and so once again, it was that little voice of the Lord telling me to not marry that person because we were not equally yoked. This went on, y'all, for 22 years of marriage. Now, like I said, I wouldn't change a thing, right? I would not change a thing because I had my children. And I feel like every single thing that happens in your life is significant, is going to lead to the next significant thing. So I am not saying that I would do anything differently, okay? But what I'm telling you is, don't make the mistake I did. Listen to that little voice. You have a little voice that is guiding you and telling you what to do. And how do I know? That's why I didn't sleep. Because I didn't listen to that little voice, and there was no peace in my life because I did not listen to that little voice that was telling me what to do, and I was drowning it out. Because when the marriage ended, I slept. I can't even explain it. You would think that I was going through a divorce and I would be worried and I couldn't sleep and I wouldn't know how I was trying to figure things out. Nope. When that marriage ended, it was like those 22 years of not sleeping, I caught up. I would go to bed on Friday evenings at like 9 o'clock and wake up at 9 o'clock on Saturday the next day. Like not even waking up. That 3 o'clock thing in the morning where I would wake up and God would give me wisdom wasn't happening anymore. Like, I would sleep. It was so noticeable. And it was all because I was finally listening to that voice in my head, right? That said, do not marry this person. It is not my plan for you to be with this person, or it's not my desire for you to be with this person. And the reason being is because we weren't equally yoked, so therefore I didn't treat him like I should. He didn't treat me like I should be treated, and it caused nothing but stress. It was like the most stressful time of my life, and I could not sleep. And so now I sleep just fine. Okay, I go to bed at a certain time. I sleep through the night. I don't have a little journal. I don't wake up at 3 making plans to what is going to happen, making a plan B, because you know what? Now I'm in charge of my finances. I'm in charge of who gets where, when. I don't have to rely on anybody but myself. Is it hard? Yes, but I can sleep. I'm not waking up in the morning and looking at my bank account and all the money is gone and I don't know where it went, right? I'm not dealing with that kind of stuff anymore. I'm not dealing with the fact that my daughter's calling me and I am somewhere. I have taken my son to another city, Winston or Greensboro, and my daughter is calling me because she didn't get picked up from school. And I'm trying to scramble and figure out how to get her. I'm not dealing with that kind of stuff anymore. I am listening to the voice inside of my head that leads me and guides me, and the stress is gone and I can sleep. So for you, it might not be a relationship. For you, it might be a situation that you're in. It could be anything, okay? It could be any type of thing, because I still have to listen. It didn't go away that, okay, I'm divorced, now I'm listening to his voice, and now I don't have to listen, now I don't hear his voice, everything's fine. I still have to listen to his voice every single day, right? And I still have to follow him. But the fact that I listened to it, it got stronger, and I learned that I have to listen to it or there's no peace in my life. And if you don't have peace, you don't have sleep, right? So I want you to think about what you're doing where you're not listening to that small voice. And I know it's scary to follow that voice. It's always scary to follow that voice. Always. Just like I'm doing right now, where I'm finding my purpose. And by the way, I know what it is. And I know that the next series is going to be me showing you how I achieve that purpose of videos. But anyway, so whatever situation it is where you are hearing God's voice and you are not listening to it, you are not going to be able to sleep. Okay? So jump out of that box. Follow God's word, right? And it's not going to be easy, but eventually you will have peace and you will have sleep. And please, don't stay awake making evil schemes. Okay, that's the worst thing to do. Because if you stay awake at night and you're scheming of how you're going to fix a problem, or what you're going to do to this person because they've hurt you or they've put you in a bad situation, if you're staying awake with evil schemes, it's going to show up on your character. It's going to show up on your face, right? I know people in my life who are staying awake and plotting evil schemes, and they look 20 years older than what they are, right? So you never want to be in a situation where you're staying awake because you're plotting evil schemes. Because you know what? God fights our battles. Give it to God. If you have something going on, a battle that you feel like needs fighting and that you need to fix, God fights our battles. That's what he does. Give it to him and sleep. Don't stay awake with evil schemes, because that's even worse than not listening to his voice, right? Because that affects your appearance. It affects your energy. It affects everything, okay? So if you are staying awake, plotting evil schemes, give it to God and say, God, take this battle for me. The way that I want to fix this is not good, and it's going to lead to destruction, and it's going to lead to stress and drama. So I give this to you. You take it, and then you go to sleep. Okay? So definitely don't do that. Don't lay awake plotting evil schemes, because that's the worst thing that you can do. But whatever situation that you're in where you're hearing God's voice and you're not listening, that's why you're not sleeping. Jump out into faith, listen to his voice, and go to sleep at night, and sleep all through the night. It works. I am speaking history with me. It works when you start listening to God's voice, and you can sleep at night. Okay, I hope this spoke to you, and I hope that you listen to God's voice today and that you rest good tonight. And I will see you soon on, day 25. I'm going to record day 25 a little bit later today, and it's going to be about stop getting distracted. Do you get distracted and you can't complete what you need to do? Well, that's keeping you from your purpose. All right, so we'll talk about that next. Have a good day. Bye-bye.